Malcolm X, government name Malcolm Little, was born in 1925 in Omaha, Nebraska, and died in 1965 in Manhattan, New York. X was an African-American Muslim minister and a human rights activist who served as a spokesman for the Nation of Islam, which is an African-American political and religious movement founded in the United States. The movement's stated goals were, and still are to this day, to improve the religious, social, and economic condition of African-Americans' humanity. On April 3, 1964, Malcolm X delivered a speech at Curry Methodist Church in Cleveland, Ohio. The public speech was titled "The Ballot or the Bullet," where X advised African Americans to judiciously exercise the right to vote. But he cautioned that if the government continued to prevent African Americans from attaining full equality, it might be necessary for them to take up arms. This is why he says it's the ballot or the bullet. He means it is liberty or it's death. It is freedom for everybody or freedom for nobody. I have therefore chosen to analyze this speech by using the method of discourse analysis. Discourse analysis is a useful tool for studying the social or political meaning that is implied in a written or spoken text. This can be found in the linguistic and choice of words, where we look at two important key terms: nodal point and chain of equivalence. The nodal point is the central theme or concept in a text that articulates and gives a vague and abstract meaning. Once we have found a nodal point, we can start looking for where it is mentioned in connection to other concepts. These words create an understanding and a meaning or a value of what the nodal point means in a text, which we call the chain of equivalence. When we investigate the speech and the words of equivalence, we can structure them into what looks to be a mind map. The nodal point is placed in the center, while the chain of words are the blue circles around. Black nationalism is placed to be the nodal point, comprising that X encourages African Americans to fight for their civil rights. X expresses it by using words as political oppression. X mentions when election time takes place, white politicians only get involved in the African American community to gain votes. Similar words as economic exploitation and social degradation is also included. All in all, X is implying that the government have failed African Americans. False promises is also mentioned, meaning that the white politicians make false promises, which is one of the words being used. Another word is Americanism. X speaks as a victim of Americanism, America's so-called democracy, where he says that the country and him have never seen democracy. All they've seen is hypocrisy. Hypocrisy and victims is also included. These two words is also used to describe Americanism. Moving on to the American nightmare. America's capitals is known to sell the American dream, but X and other African Americans has not experienced this dream, only the American nightmare. Last word that is mentioned is revolution. Revolution overturns and destroys systems. They are bloody, but X suggests that revolutions can be prevented by giving the black man the same civil rights as the white man. What all the chain of words have in common is that they all are negatively charged and has a negative connotation. By doing that, X exhibits America and the white Americans as the enemy, implying that the African Americans should stick together and elevate each other, and this can be done by voting on election time. By using discourse analysis, such as the analysis of intertextuality, connotations, and structure of language, it is possible to examine Malcolm X's political speech from a closer and deeper point of view, disclosing his ideology from his distinctive use of words. This study led me to the conclusion that the language of Malcolm X's speech is shaped with a purpose in mind, that of all completely overturn American white hegemony and struggle against its power over African Americans. This is done essentially through appropriation and subversion of white American linguistic and cultural features. This is done essentially through language.